Charlie Shaw's Revenge is a low-budget British horror that is a great little film that I thoroughly enjoyed. It's 90 minutes, it's nice and fast, it gets in, it gets out, it gets done. But the main thing is that this is a low-budget British independent horror that does not ever feel like it's low-budget. Okay, it does kind of feel like it is British, and it has a little bit of an independent vibe, but this is a horror movie that's really doing something more than just hack 'em, slashing, and killing. This is Off the Reel. This is an Off the Reel review. My name is Kevin Halden. Please do all those wonderful things. Go on the social medias, Off the Reel Pod, OTR Pod, all that good stuff. Find us, like, subscribe, follow, all those good things. When it comes to this movie, Charlie Shaw's Revenge, I am going to be doing what I normally do, and that is to talk about the plot of the movie with as few spoilers as humanly possible. Then I'll get into the cast and crew of this movie, and then I'll get into what I did and didn't like about the film, and finish up with my Off the Reel review rating. Let's talk about Charlie Shaw's Revenge, directed by David Langridge. And first of all, I'm going to do what I normally do, and I'm going to give you the old IMDb synopsis of the movie, and then we'll get into a little bit more about what it's actually about, and with as few spoilers as possible, because there are some pretty big spoilers. So a group of workers preparing for the reopening of a remote adventure park on the brink of bankruptcy find themselves stalked by a silent killer. Cut off from any form of rescue, the survivors must band together to fight for their lives. And that is pretty much the plot. It definitely is that, but we cold open the movie with a man out on the road. He's kind of like a one-man band kind of thing. He's got all this musical stuff. He's sort of an entertainer, and he's on his way to Forrestal's Fun Park, which is where we're going to be spending most of our movie. So he's on the way there, but the guy that was meant to be picking him up and taking him hasn't turned up. A car does turn up on the road, and it's this guy in a poncho, and basically we're going to cold open with a pretty gnarly kill. This guy does end up running into the forest to try and get away. He does get caught and he does get killed. That's how we're starting our movie. That's how any good slasher, any good horror should really start. And we meet the guy that owns the fun park, Forrestal, and Forrestal's there with his daughter, and he's bringing this girl in, this Marion, who's working at the fun park. So we kind of meet her. She's been told that she just needs to get the whole thing back to the way it should be, back to the glory days, make it profitable again, and by any means necessary. So if she needs to sack anyone, let anyone go, that is the kind of thing she's going to have to do, and he's putting faith in her, but also she has to sort of chaperone Forrestal's daughter Chloe, and she's going to be learning some of the ropes. She gets in there, and instantly everybody sort of takes a dislike to her because they realize that she's here to sort of change things. She's here to be their boss, and some of them don't like that, especially the character of Diane, who's been there for like 10-15 years, and she thinks she's sort of the boss. So that's kind of happening, that's going on, but then of course there are going to be some killings. People start getting stalked. It's a little bit of a who's doing it, it's a little bit of like who's going to be next, and can these deaths get any better. We follow all the characters around the park, and we're sort of in this way of like we're trying to figure out at the same time as they are figuring out. What I did find with this movie, I kind of stopped really like trying to figure it out, and you do get told this urban legend of a character who is Charlie Shaw. You know, it's the titular Charlie Shaw, and it was this guy who used to be the main clown of the festival. He was going to be the main star, and he gets let go by Forrestal, and then from what the legend goes, like a week to 2 weeks later, he died. But we start to see that Charlie Shaw is at the fun park. He is back to do it all. But why, how, and is he not dead? Is he dead? It's all these kind of like fun questions that get thrown up for you to try and answer. The deaths get better as they go. The people really like Marion less and less because she's trying to put her foot down. But it's really cool, it's kind of fun, it's not reinventing the wheel in terms of slasher movies or horror movies. It's kind of doing things that other movies have done similarly. However, I will say I found it thoroughly enjoyable, and while it's not reinventing the wheel, it is doing everything kind of right. It just becomes a case of who will survive and how will they survive, and is Charlie Shaw going to get everyone? So in terms of our cast, I am going to start with the titular Charlie Shaw, Mr. James Payton. James Payton is no stranger to the Romford Film Festival. We once showed a documentary called Who is James Payton? This is the kind of guy that I just absolutely groove with as an actor. I think he's absolutely absolutely brilliant. He is so open to really putting himself out there. And as the clown Charlie Shaw, he's just really, really eerie, sinister, but he's a genuinely nice guy. So when it comes to playing the Charlie Shaw character, some of the things that he's doing absolutely track. The way he's acting, when he's waving his hands, he's doing his clown kind of things. I don't know, like, I just 100% bought that this guy was Charlie Shaw, and then when he's doing the evil, sinister things, I also, kind of thanks to James Payton, believe that as well. I really like what James Payton's doing with this character. So let's get on to some of our other main cast and survivors and whatnot. And I'm going to start with Marion, Cerys Knighton. I really, really enjoyed what Cerys Knighton is doing with this movie, with the character of Marion. She comes in, she's kind of a hard-nosed sort of bitch who's going to take over the park, but trying to bring it back to the glory days. She's not doing things to annoy people or be awkward. She just wants things to be as good as they can be, but that does rub up the rest of the crew the wrong way because it's their fun park. It's their thing. Like, they've been there all this time, and there is more to the character of Marion, but we're going to find that out as we go, and we're going to try and see if the rest of the gang are going to take to her, and there's reasons why Marion is the way she is, and that all sort of feeds into the tail end of the movie. I really like Cerys in this film. I think she's doing a fantastic job. Another one of my favourite characters is Russ, played by Bill Fellows. Bill Fellows has been all over the place. We all know Bill Fellows. He's an instantly recognisable face, and he just sort of like, he's the sort of the janitor of the park, and he's kind of keeping all the electrics working, keeping all the rides moving. He's got like a young kid that's working with him. I want to say it's his son. I believe it was his son. It might not have been his son. It might just have been someone he's taken under his wing. And he has this like kind of father figure when it comes to this young lad, but also when it comes to Marion coming in, he's like, I'm going to try and help you. You have made a bad first impression and nobody really likes you right now, but I'm going to try and help you. Bill Fellows is great in everything he does. He's always such a likable guy and you're always on his side. But then again, is he too likable? Logging heads with Marion, as I mentioned before, is Diane, played by Amelie Leroy, and she is leading woman material if I ever saw it. Like, I really, really like what Amelie Leroy's doing here. This is a very collaborative movie, and it's a very ensemble cast. Everyone's really working together, but I just got a sense with Amelie Leroy, like, she's just a little bit, like I don't know, like, maybe she's just bringing it a little bit extra, and that's a lot to do with the character she's playing. You're kind of sitting there thinking, damn, Amelie Leroy, like, she's a really good actress, and I want to see her do more. I definitely was into the character, and when it comes down to it, she kind of throws down quite well and makes a really cool character out of this. And two more characters worth noting is Mark Benton as Len. He's sort of like the fun park chef. Mark Benton, you've seen him in Everything Ever. He does a lot of like ITV shows. And Shala Ayama as Chloe, who is Forrestal's daughter, who's kind of walking around with Marion and kind of, you know, learning the ropes and figuring things out. Really, really cool character. Really, really like this actress a lot, and I want to see her do more going forward. I will say, when it comes to some of these independent movies, it's not a surprise that I don't know everybody in the cast. And Shala Amaya, I'm not going to lie, I didn't really know her from anything else, but this has made me want to see her in more, and I really, really, like, I rate that, I respect that. It's really cool to see an actress like this come through, and I feel like she's got something quite special. So then I'll just move on to sort of like the crew of the movie, and I'm going to start with our director, John Langridge. I think he's made a sensational little movie here. I watched him during his Q&As that he's done at the festivals, and I've seen some other things that he's done online in terms of interviews and whatnot. I really like John Langridge. I think he's got a fantastic grasp of what this movie is and isn't trying to put it out there as something that it isn't. Yes, he's passionate about the film. Yes, he pushes it as much as he possibly can, which is all great, but he knows exactly what he's made, and he's damn proud of that. And he should be, because there's a few twists in this movie that you would not expect to see in a low-budget independent horror movie quite like this, which is what elevates it to the next phase. So John Langridge, in terms of bringing together a wonderful cast that works together, and you can see that, like, when you look at the credit list in the cast, when you're looking at all the people that do all the jobs behind the scenes, the bulk of them are actually people that starred in the movie. You know, like you've got associate producers, you've got producers, but then you've got stuntmen. Renato Perez plays a character in the movie. He plays like the fire breather in the movie, but he's also the stunt guy of the movie who's doing all the stunts and stuff like that, keeping people safe. Also filming in England, it would have absolutely pissed down with rain every single day. There's not a scene in this movie that makes it look like it was hard to film and whatnot. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. The cinematography, I think, for this movie is excellent. It's a slasher that doesn't need to look gorgeous all the time, because we don't need slashers to look gorgeous all the time. You know, gritty, realistic, grimy, all that stuff. That's what we want in a horror slasher. But there are moments in this movie where we're kind of doing drone shots and we're coming up and we're looking at the whole fun park as a whole, and you see like everything around it, and it just looks gorgeous. Visually stunning, you know, wide shots that just work. I was a big fan of what this movie was doing in the downtime moments. In fact, let me just get into what I did and didn't like now, because I don't really need to talk too much more about the cast and crew. Everybody did a great job. This is an ensemble collaborative movie, and I really like what everyone's doing. I love, and I'm going to be careful here because, you know, so the last 10 to 15 minutes of this movie, it completely does a 180 or a 360. It just changes, really. It just becomes a little bit of a different movie. It goes from being like John Carpenter's Halloween to like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. But what I mean by that is like it gets a little bit arty, if you know what I mean. Like, and I'm not saying John Carpenter didn't do arty things. Like, Halloween is a phenomenal movie. But when we got the Rob Zombie version of Halloween, especially Halloween 2, his version, he kind of goes a little bit artsy with it, and it goes into a different direction. This movie kind of does that. I'm not saying this is just terrible. I don't really know how to say it without sounding utterly pretentious, but it goes from being less of a slasher to being a horror with heart, a horror with a message, a horror with an actual core. And that's some of my favourite parts of Charlie Shaw's Revenge. I love what we're doing at the start. I love the slasher aspect. I love the final girl aspect. I love the people that are trying to survive, but most of them just getting mutilated. We haven't really talked about the kills. Some of the kills in this movie are pretty damn epic. We get screwdrivers to their heads. We get people thrown off climbing frames. We get some really cool, gnarly, awesome kills. But yeah, when we get to the tail end of the movie, it becomes a little bit of something else, and it almost becomes like a tragedy. I really just want you to watch the movie, because then you'll get what I'm talking about, and you'll see what I mean by impressive. Something that I didn't like. There is one particular moment in this movie where we have the potential for a awesome kill. For a low-budget, independent British movie would have been absolutely crazy. We set it up earlier in the movie with some fire breathing and everything like that, so it does include fire, and we don't quite pull the trigger on that moment. We kind of get it, and then we smash cut, and then we get a little bit of the after effects. I'm just gonna say I would love to have seen how they did that. Now, it might have looked really cheesy, it might have looked really horrendous, it might have looked bad, but I would have loved to have seen how we approached that and what we did with that. And this is a nitpick for me, because it didn't take away any enjoyment from the movie for me. I was intrigued at that point in time to see how they were going to do this, on what kind of budget they had, and just show us that what we can actually do with what we've got. But in a way, it's got me talking about it, and it's got me thinking about it, because sometimes what's imagined in my head is worse than what you can do on the screen, so there is that as well. So it is a slight bit of a nitpick. I love the music in this movie. I think the score in this movie is just brilliant. Really does have those funfair vibes. It really kind of has a retro sort of synthy at times score to it that just reminds you of being at the circus. So I loved all of that. Anything that puts me in that mindset, especially for this movie, is a win. It's an absolute win for me. I just think this movie is really well put together. I think editing-wise, there's not a lot of things that I could really complain about. I think acting-wise, everybody is really putting it in. You know, they're all putting in fantastic performances. James Payton as Charlie Shaw absolutely just nails it. And I genuinely like what John Langridge is doing when he brings this to the screen and gives us a sort of different kind of horror movie. And I think that's one of the main things that I really like. It just feels different, and then you get that last 10 minutes of the movie and it feels even better. Did your favourite character win? Did your least favourite character win? It's gonna make you talk. And that's the best thing you can say about any movie. It will make you talk. So I'm going to give you my off-the-reel review rating. And honestly, I don't really have anything too negative to say about this movie. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. Not very many movies out there are perfect. Honestly, it does everything it's supposed to do right. Does it shy away from budgetary constraints on certain kills or certain moments? Yes, it does. It has to get a little bit creative. I don't have issues with being creative. I like when movies get creative like this. I love to see what people at this level and filmmakers at this level can do and what they can bring with what they've got, because I don't know exactly what the budget was, but I'm imagining it wasn't a massive budget. You know, I'm thinking we're maybe talking like 50, 60, like 70 grand, and it doesn't look like that. It looks way higher than that. It's like they have squeezed out every penny of whatever budget they had, and that's what I mean about the collaborative effort from this team. They've really given us something really special, something I really enjoyed. I was scared when I was meant to be scared, I was laughing when I was meant to be laughing, and I was rooting for the wrong people when I was supposed to be rooting for the wrong people. That's the way this movie kind of makes you feel. So I'm going to just go shy of that 5 out of 5, and I'm going to give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. I think this movie is very, very good. I don't think it does anything really wrong. I wanted to really drop that 5, but I'm going to give it a 4.5 purely because I want to see what this team does next. I want to see if we get a Charlie Shaw's Revenge 2. I want to see if we get the Curse of Charlie Shaw, or whatever this team does next. I'm 100% looking out for them. I'm 100% checking out what John Langridge does next. I just think this movie's excellent, and when it hits streaming or physical, I hope everyone checks it out. I had so much fun with this movie, and there are twists and turns, and I have watched this movie more than once, and when you do go back, there is 100% rewatchability to this movie, because you can start putting things together. And just keep that in mind, but I hope you all go and watch it. For now, though, this is Off the Reel. It's an Off the Reel review. My rating for this movie is 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to head out. My name has been Kevin Halden. Please do hit me in the comments down below. If you see Charlie Shaw's Revenge, let me know what you think of the movie. We can talk about it down there. We can argue all the live long day. It's what I like to do. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, ding that notification bell. Go over to all the social medias, OTR Pod, Off the Reel Pod. Check out everything over there. Like us, follow us, all that good stuff. There is a website incoming. I promise you it is nearly finished, so you'll be able to check that out as well. But for now, if I don't see you through the week, I will see you in the cinema.